Hey guys, it's Brian, and welcome to the fourth episode of The Walking Dead World Beyond, titled The Wrong End of the Telescope. So, I actually was not too big of a fan of this episode, and I honestly would have to give it a 7 out of 10. It was kind of a chore to, watch. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. So, Felix is trying to convince the kids to turn back, and obviously they're not going to do it. Hope and Iris want to find their dad, and Silas likes Iris, and Eldon and Iris are talking about the CRM, how, it makes sense. They have a lot of stuff. That's why they want to keep hidden. But, Hope doesn't really like that. She kind of calls it bullcrap. And Iris mentions how, they do have their dad and they are keeping secrets from them. So they even mention how they could have taken over. It's definitely possible. And it's crazy because it actually did happen. So Felix tries to talk to Huck about how they can convince the kids, and they decide that Eldon is the most likely one who will come back with them. So they decide Huck's going to talk to Hope, and Felix is going to talk to Eldon. So they find a high school, and they decide that with a storm coming, it's probably a good idea to take Sanctuary there just until the storm passes and maybe find some supplies. And so they head in, and we get the intro, which I'm not a big fan of still. So we get a flashback with this random girl who went to the school, Sabrina James, and honestly, I don't really care. Honestly, I don't know, it felt weird, high school drama. So Iris is just looking through photos and stuff and sitting, and the characters are collecting trophies because, they can collect some rainwater and stuff like that, and they're talking about splitting up because they can cover more ground, find some supplies, and so anyway, Iris really wants to go with Silas, and, that happens, and Hope kind of wants to talk to Iris, but she says they can talk later. Felix, tells them how to be careful, and if they see walkers to run. And as they're exploring, Hope is just noticing, little things here and there in people's lockers. And, Huck even asks her if, Huck tries to ask her about what happened, like the trail that she was leaving behind for Felix and Huck to find. And, Hope talks about how she was honestly just having second thoughts about her second thoughts, and she just wants to go through with it. She's not really going to change or go back to the campus. So we get a flashback with Hope a little younger, and her dad, Leo Bennett, the doctor who was taken by the CRM, and she's just a little upset. He kind of missed an appointment with the principal with her, but he reminds her that he does love her, that she is special, that she is smart. So anyways, after that, we get Hope and Huck looking around, and then Felix and Eldon are also looking around in the chemistry room, and Eldon is talking about how he doesn't really want to go back, and he finds some iodine water purifier. So they leave, and Felix finds a blood trail on the ground, and they're looking at it, and they kind of knows it's fresh, I suppose. And Felix tries to get on the radio with Silas and Iris, but it doesn't really work. So anyway, we have a walker just like trying to crawl away, and we hear a wolf, growling and just pulling the walker back into the classroom. After that, we get Silas and Iris. They managed to enter the gymnasium where there was a Sadie Hawkins dance apparently, and Silas even puts some paint supplies in Iris's backpack, and he tries to get the door, but it's like corroded or something, and even the batteries are corroded too. Not sure how that happened. That's a little bit weird. Back with Huck and Hope, they're looking around and they're talking about dads, things like that, and we get another flashback with Hope and her father, and she tries to convince him not to leave for the CRM, and he really trusts the CRM. He believes it's the right thing to do, which honestly doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, seriously, these people are bad news. They wear all black. They don't tell you where they are. I mean, just bad vibes. I mean, and also, Hope is just upset, but he tells her that he knows why she's upset, and it's not her fault. So she kind of asks about that, and he says, he'll tell her when he gets back, which obviously we know it's not really going to happen. So back with Felix, he hears a walker inside of a locker, and Eldon has, I think, having like a panic attack because when he was younger, before the apocalypse, he was locked in some sort of, box or locker. So yeah, he's claustrophobic. And Felix is telling Eldon that he knows he's scared, he's not ready for this. Even Felix says he's not sure, and he kind of begs Eldon to at least consider going back with him to the campus, because it's dangerous and he doesn't want any more people to die. And they find this walker mess in the classroom, just like all the walkers ripped apart, one barely still alive technically. And yeah, so anyway, Iris is still looking through, yearbooks and stuff, and Silas comes up to her and he brings her some sodas that he found. And apparently they never drink sodas from cans, which is interesting. And they kind of go back and forth talking about themselves. And we get the wolf in the episode, which he is very vicious, blocking the door. He growls at Hope and Huck, and Hope tries to stop Huck from pulling her gun out, and they hide in one of the classrooms, and they're kind of stuck, so they need to figure out what to do. Meanwhile, Iris and Silas are dancing, and because he saw his grandparents dancing one time when he was 4, so I guess they're trying to do it. Man, the AMC is really trying to make us ship these two, and I'm not totally against it, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Anyway, back with the wolf and Huck and Hope. They're just looking and trying to figure out why he's just standing there, and they probably figure the wolf probably has some young, so that's probably why it's not moving. But luckily, they don't startle the wolf. They're just quietly moving to the side, and the wolf just stays there, which is pretty cool. It's very realistic because wolves don't attack unless you charge at them. So if you just, back away, you can avoid them. So that's interesting. So Huck locks the gate so it won't follow them. So, anyways, Felix and Eldon manage to find Iris and Silas in the gymnasium, but they can't open the door. And back with Hope, she's talking about how she maybe had her father all, thought wrong, that it was something else. Maybe there's a piece of the puzzle that she's missing. So after that, we have Huck and Hope. They find, I think, the pantry of the school, a bunch of food and supplies, and they come across a walker, which Huck kills off screen. Not sure why it was off screen. And Iris and Silas, they open the other door with letting a walker in the gymnasium so they can get out finally. And I think they're in the basement, and Silas lights up a flare, and their walkers are starting to pop out of nowhere. So they are running in the basement. Meanwhile, Huck and Hope are finished packing the rest of the supplies when they hear on the other side of the door someone screaming, and they find out it's Iris, and she's asking them for help. So after they're trying to open the door, the walkers are still coming, but Silas kind of snaps out of it, and he says they keep coming, and actually kills a walker without hesitating, which is interesting. And then he throws his weapon away and starts beating it. And we see a man strangling Silas in the flashback, and I assume this is his father, but yeah, Silas just freaks out. He screams at the walker, slams it to the ground, and starts beating it up, just with his fists. And the other characters are a little bit concerned, he's just in a rage mode. So, they're trying, they're having a hard time snapping him out of it. Even Felix snaps him out of it, but, and he just looks at himself, covered in blood, and says, I'm sorry. So meanwhile, with Hope and Iris, they're talking about what happened, and Iris mentions how they should have talked about what happened last episode sooner, but they'll still move forward. And I'm sorry, but the whole flipping off thing, I do not like it. I just don't get it. It's so cringy. So meanwhile, Elton is applying probably a warm ice pack to his shoulder because Silas kind of hit him. And Felix is talking about him about maybe coming back with them to campus again. So yeah, Felix is really trying to convince him. Meanwhile, Silas is kind of, I guess, in shock about what happened, kind of worried that Iris will see him as a monster, and even asks, does she think he murdered his dad? But she kind of brushes it off. So yeah, Silas is, I guess, okay. He says he's fine, he's good, and Elton decides to take a picture of the group with everyone. And they take a really interesting photo, and then the episode ends. So yeah, so what do I think about this episode? Well, honestly, there really needed to be a lot more. The wolf was barely used, and there wasn't a whole lot of action. We get a teaser for next week, and Felix is talking to Eldon about coming back with them, and Eldon says he didn't agree to it, but Felix says he didn't disagree either. So Huck mentions how the military blew up the bridges, so they have to get away across the terrain. So it looks like here Eldon is building some kind of boat with barrels and wood and stuff, and yeah. And then Iris says no or something. She kind of shouts because this generator thing catches on fire, and it's probably part of the boat. And we have Hope arguing and kind of yelling at Eldon, saying that you were with us and now you're turning your back on us. So most likely she finds out that he was talking to Felix, and Felix says that he doesn't want any more people to die. And we have a bunch of walkers coming, most likely around the pier area or bridge area where they are. And we have Elton, looks like he's holding a radio and he's screaming, and I think he's being pulled. So not sure what's happening. It looks like he's in a boat or something. So yeah, anyways, so that's it for World Beyond Episode 4, The Wrong End of the Telescope. Also, we get a teaser or like a post-credit scene. So we have this woman with this tape recorder. You know, she's part of the CRM. Her name is Lila, and she's apparently in this picture with Leo, Hope's father. And yeah, so she's looking at this walker that is restrained. And yeah, this is part of the CRM. You know, they have test subjects, and you know, this test subject is like A402. And she mentions how, you know, there's been no progress, and she mentions that they're going to bring in another test subject in. And, you know, they're doing, like, weird experiments, you know, with, like, fluids and stuff, and, you know, with timing, and it's just crazy. They have, like, what I assume are lots of people in hazmat suits, and, yeah, I mean, and she even takes a giant sandwich and just eats it. So, yeah, I am very curious to see what the CRM are actually doing, and she says to bring in the next test subject, and, you know, it's like A403, and most likely it's going to be the father, Leo Bennett. There's a chance it isn't, but it most likely is. So yeah, this episode just had a lot of problems. It was very cringy, not a lot of action, and maybe some decent character development, but honestly, I just don't feel like it was enough. So I think I give this episode a 7 out of 10. The CRM stuff was very minimum, and you know, there was very cringy moments, and the wolf was very underused. Like, I thought it was going to be a big threat this episode, but it wasn't. So yeah, I'm sorry guys, but I honestly didn't enjoy this episode too much, and I don't think I'll rewatch it. So yeah guys, that's gonna be it for my review of The Walking Dead World Beyond Episode 4, The Wrong End of the Telescope. Please let me know what you thought of the episode down below, and until next time guys, take care, bye.